Hello, this is a contest, fantasy footy show where we invite smart people to chat with us so that we look intelligent ourselves. I'm Jesse. You can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy, and I'm with K-Man. He's dual hat winner. You can follow him on Twitter at K-Man_TC Fantasy. We're your hosts. We like fantasy footy. K-Man, mate, you skipped out on me to watch the Lions game in the wet on Thursday. Was it all right? Was it better than recording?
No, it was gross. And, I even thought it halfway through the second quarter, I might as well just jump on because that was a hard watch. That was a hard watch from the Lions. So,
yeah,
I don't know. There's something not quite right at the moment, something not clicking, whether they're just trying to get themselves cherry right for finals. But, not the way you want to spend a Thursday night, to be fair.
We'll sort it out. I'm not too worried about it. We've done it for 2 years in a row now.
Yeah.
We are joined today by none other than three-time top 10 finisher, twice runner-up in AFL Fantasy Classic, coach of Holmsey's Heroes, and host of one of the best pods in the biz, PODPOD. Holmsey, mate, thank you so much for jumping on. How are you?
Yeah, good, boys. Thanks for having me on. And K-Man, are you sure you're at the footy on Thursday? Because I know what it's like to podcast from a not-so-good rank. And sometimes the urge is just to take a break. So is that what was happening here?
Yeah, no, I'd like to say it was a bit of a mental health space, but no, definitely at the Lions. I invited a few people to join me, but it just coincided. It's just coincidental that the season's going poorly and I did miss it. But yeah, it's a fair shout.
Been there, mate. It's all good. And Thursday night, Hugh McCluggage, that would have been a fun watch.
Yeah, I'm glad I didn't bring him in.
You cheeky bugger.
That was great.
You think you're better than me? With your good trading?
Hey, I was cheering on Zach Bailey, so...
Yeah, that was a hard watch in the second half. It's always a hard watch with Zach Bailey, but anyway. Kayla, you got something you want to talk about here, and I don't know how to interpret this on the run sheet, so I'm just going to let you take it away.
I had my flaming loams of Sigmund. So, Holmesy, unless you're a Seinfeld fan, you probably thought I was just completely nuts. Do you watch Seinfeld? No?
I'm not, actually, so I haven't watched it before, but I'm learning a little bit more every time you guys bring it up on every single podcast you've ever done. So.
Yeah. So we're actually a Seinfeld podcast. So Jesse, mate, I think I got up about 2:00. Just went to the toilet, half asleep, walking down. I thought, I've got a great discussion point for Holmesy and Jesse on the pod. And like the Seinfeld episode where he writes down that joke. Yeah. And then the whole episode is trying to work out exactly what it was. I have no idea what I was supposed to bring up. I didn't get it. But it was a real life scenario. It actually happened.
Yeah. And so now you've made a talking point on the pod out of not having a talking point.
That's right.
Yeah, great.
Yep. It was worth it.
Jesse, do you have any idea what's going on here? I've got no idea.
I know the reference, but this is what it's like to podcast with us, mate. It's a bit of a free for all. We just kind of go for it. Look, before you get stuck into it, if you dig the content, remember to chuck us a follow, 5-star rating on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Like, share, subscribe over on YouTube. We've got a great show lined up today. We're discussing pre-buy and buy around strategy with Holmesy, set you up for success in the back end of the AFL fantasy year. We won't be doing the trade block in this episode, but we will do a release of a mini episode of trade targets so that you can keep up to date. You can look out for that in the next day or two. But first, the people's favorite, we're going to have Holmesy join us for a bit of a laugh. Giddy up and Mike the Phony.
Giddy up.
Like you didn't call me a phony!
Welcome to Giddy Up, Mike the Phony, where we use childish puns to summarize our fantasy week. Let us know your punny best and worst of the week on Twitter, and we'll have a laugh at them on the pod. Holmesy, you're the guest, mate. Do you actually want to kick us off? Do you have any puns for this week to describe your best and worst players?
Yeah, look, I'll admit you guys are English teachers, I believe, so this stuff just really comes more natural to you. So I've had to use a bit of AI for one of them just to get some ideas.
Go for it.
First one is, and K-Man, you tried to talk me out of getting him, and unfortunately I still went there. So Sam Durr Noham, I guess. Is that what we're doing? I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah, that's about as good as I've got. And then this one I had to go to AI for, and Bailey, I'm a smith of amnesia, which means crafting forgetfulness like it's my trade. Because I forgot that I had the captaincy on Bailey Smith this week and straight captained him on Thursday night. So
nailed it.
Worked
Great.
out.
I lost 4 points, Jesse. I can't take my Brody Grundy VC.
I mean, it's a hard knock life, isn't it? You know, it's a tricky world we live in, mate.
So hard for you guys.
Yeah. Who was your captain this week, K-Man?
Oh, I did the Butters VC. I'll take the 122 in those areas. That's all right.
Yeah. All right. Well, who was he your giddy up by chance?
No, my giddy up was Jack Sinclair. Oh, no, wait. Sorry, I got it wrong. Jack Carroll with a 102 for St Kilda, stuck on field just by my nightmare of side. So, the side's going well when you're celebrating a Jack Carroll 102 on field. So he's my giddy up, and my Mike the Phony goes to the Rocket Man himself. So whenever Jeremy Howe's in the side, do we Houston have a problem?
Who's the Rocket Man?
Houston. Come on, mate.
Oh,
I've used that one before.
Yeah, I missed it. Sorry. My get up for this week is I'm just playing it straight back. Brody Gundy or Brody ton and a half D, because wow, what an absolute showing from him. I almost didn't do it. I almost went Bont because he was the new shiny thing in my team, but went Brody Grundy and that worked out well. And Mike the Phony is spam Walsh because he's spamming my team with dodgy scores, and I want to get rid of him. I'm sick of looking at him in that squad, so he can leave. He can go. We've got a few on Twitter. We've actually got 1 million on Twitter, so I'm not going to read out all of these, but there's a few of my favorites. What was it? Hugh McCarry-on instead of Hugh McCluggage. Pretty solid. Dan Houston, we've got a problem to go with the Rocket Man there. Hugh Pack-your McCluggage. There's a bit of a theme on Twitter. People are pretty upset with Hugh McCluggage this week. Milan stayed in the paddock.
I think I'll say to you, sorry, there's been a couple now.
No, go for it.
At the ground, he did not look right. He didn't make tackles that he probably should have. He found himself in odd positions, really fumbly. He didn't look fit. That was a concern for mine. Not the score, but just the way he carried himself around ground. So I don't know if there's something to keep an eye on during the week. Yeah,
okay. We'll have to keep a lookout. Hopefully he's okay. Some giddy ups though. Jack Attack Sinclair. Brody Girthy. He's a huge fella. And Murphy teed off. So we got actually many people are not happy with their team members. Thank you for joining us to get up, and Mike the Phony, but we've got a guest here to talk about some more important things. So let's get stuck into it. We're going to talk about tips for buy round success. It's that time of year where we're approaching the buys. We just start setting up our teams. And then the buy rounds have been pretty interesting the last couple of years. I suppose I just want to set the scene with a little bit of 2026 context first, because Cayman and I talk a lot, Holmsey, about kind of how weird this year of fantasy feels. And I feel like a lot of us in the community kind of feel that same way. Like, firstly, just tons of injuries to super relevant players like Errol Goulden, Connor Rozee, Connor Buderick, Tim English, Dane Zorko. All these guys have meant these kind of sideways trades have kind of become the norm this year to uber premiums like Nakos and Baslenka really early on. And it feels like we've had that opportunity to trade into these guys way earlier than maybe we traditionally would. Early season rookies have been unreal, and mid prices kind of feel like they've been a little bit more hit and miss. I don't know if this is recency bias or not, but it just feels like Xavier Lindsay, Todd Marshall, Vizentini, Darcy Parish, Marcus Windhager, Caleb Windsor, all these guys kind of fell short of expectation. And so as a result, kind of everything this year feels a little bit more reactionary. In past years, like, we haven't had the opportunity to plan our trades the way we usually would, I suppose. Do you find that has been the case with your season as well?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you can rattle off pretty much all of those primos that got injured early. I mean, outside of Azorka, I've had pretty much all of them. And and that's just the podcasting game, right? We talk about these players and they all kind of are popular. And not for you though, Jesse. You've dodged a lot of them, which has been good to see.
Very kissed, yeah.
But yeah, we did have to go sideways. I mean, outside of a Bailey Smith, I haven't really paid up for too many. But yeah, the rookies were good, and everyone was saying early that we're going to complete our side so much earlier this year. But I'm finding the opposite. I think the rookies have come through, and we've been quite lucky that we've still had a few decent ones in that second wave come through, but they are starting to dry up now, and it's going to be a case of just being smart throughout the buys and making sure you come out with a better side. But I do think, well, me especially compared to last year, I mean, the rank says that, but I'm a lot further back team value and cash gen wise than this time last year.
Do you find do you feel like that's at all, I mean, we'll get into this more later, but is that starting to complicate for you at all how you're preparing for the buys, or is it kind of just stick to your process and keep plugging away as best you can?
Yeah, it's pretty much been stick to the process. I'm hating trading in these forwards at the moment, and I've just been waiting for the moment that I can throw Jagger and Murdoch back there, but Murdoch's become a forward tagger that doesn't touch the ball, and Jagger's gone back into the midfield. So if we get another week of that, then, you know, maybe those plans go out the window a little bit. But yeah, it's just been business as usual. I have targeted a few underpriced guys that haven't paid off too well. So, you know, if a Finn Callahan keeps doing what he's doing, he won't be one that I need to keep past his buy. Jack Steele's come down a lot. He's not really getting it done. Walsh the same. So I think the aim is still to come out with a quote-unquote completed side by the end of the buys, but typically I do like to go a little bit sideways throughout as well, as long as I'm not going to have these horrendous rookies on field come post round 16, whatever it is this year.
Yeah. K-Man, do you want to take us through the overview of the buy rounds, just to kind of give us a bit of setup for, you know, the buy discussion, I suppose?
Yeah, I guess we'll preface the conversations to come, and Holmesy just talked about what the implications are for our buy round. So we do have 5. There's been a bit of transition from the traditional 3 buy rounds previously. We have 4 rounds with 4 teams. We have 1 round with 2 teams, and that gives us our three trades per week. So we've got 5 rounds of 3 trades, which is a lot, and what we can do to maximize, as Holmesy talked about, coming out of the buys with a better side. And obviously during that time, we have a best 18 scenario like our early season buys. So if I just rattled through them in the type of teams we're talking about. So round 12, where we seem to have a few issues with the forward line in particular. So Adelaide, North, Port, and the Suns on that round 12 buy. So we'll get to pre-buy planning strategy, in a second. Round 13 is probably the more ideal buy, with the Tigers and GWS being the only buy round with 2 teams. Round 14, Carlton, Pies, Freo and Hawks. Round 15, we go the Lions, Bombers, Sydney and West Coast. And round 16, probably perhaps the more heavy buys as we look for upgrade targets with the Cats, Melbourne, St Kilda and Bulldogs. I don't know about you guys, but how are you? And you talked about it earlier. This year's been slightly different with the number of injuries we've had. I know personally, I felt more reactionary leading into mid-season buys, but just a round table, how are we looking, fellas, in terms of our spread and our breadth of players at the moment, in particular our primos in regard to those buy round spread? How are you looking?
Throw to you first, Holmesy.
Oh, sorry, mate.
Oh, me? Oh, shit. Okay.
I just saw yours. I saw yours on there.
Yeah, look, I'm really light on round 12 and 13 players, which is kind of nice. I haven't got that kind of major issue with the forward line in round 12 at the moment, having traded out Rochelle. Round 14, 15, and 16 are heavier for me, though, particularly round 14 and 15. So I've only got 3 primos on round 12. I haven't got any primos in round 13 because I haven't had an opportunity to trade into a Whitfield or an Ash or a Callahan or anything at this stage. But I'll look to try and rectify that at some point. And we've got I got 5 guys in round 14, 6 in round 15, and 6 in round 16. So I'm not too worried because I think I can clean up the round 15 and 16 ahead of that. I mean, when I say primos, I'm kind of including some maxed out mid-price guys as well in those numbers. So hopefully I can move on from them. But certainly those last couple rounds I haven't managed particularly well. So
you don't have that depth in round 12 at all with that forward line, any of those concerns like a lot of coaches are having?
No, I've got Sheasel, obviously, but then it's my bench. Like, I've currently got Toby Murray and I've still got Jack Watkins somehow, and I've got Braden Cook. So outside of those, I've got like 4 forwards that I can still field. It's I wouldn't want any more, I think, but it's okay. And the forwards that I can field are still quote unquote my premiums, even though 3 of those premiums are Zach Bailey, Chad Warner, and Shea Bolton. So who knows how that'll go.
What about you, Holmsey? How are you? Yeah, sorry, mate.
I'll give the little shameless plug here, but if any listeners there are really confused about the buy round, so the Moreira's Magic buy round planner is a really good tool, because it's not just looking at how many players you have on the buy, but it splits it into your mids, forwards, defenders, and rucks, and actually shows you how many you can get on field. So at the moment, and I've done a little bit of playing over the last week or so to kind of fix this up as well. I don't have, your Petrarcas and things like that, but traded out Rochelle this week, which is a bit of a burn there, but went into Durham and getting Roby as well last week has actually helped to fix that up. So as it stands at the moment, I'll have 21 playing in round 12, 22 in round 13, then 22, 20, and 21. So it's relatively spread at the moment, and that's the way I'm kind of looking to play it, as I did last year, and then kind of trading your way into what you need to do, picking off those rookies that have maxed out to get these premiums along the way. So hopefully it pays off, but a bit like you, Jesse, my forward premiums are not exactly premiums. I don't know why I've traded in these hard watch guys that are just no good for fantasy, but do it every year.
Yeah, every year we have these learnings that we take away, and then I feel like I break every single one of those learnings the following year, every single time without fail. But anyway, here we are. K-Man, what about you, mate?
I'm going to try and go with a pretty similar philosophy with last year, just having that balance of spread across the buy rounds, especially having 5. So I think I've got 4 primos on a buy in round 12, 2 in 13, 5 in 14, but 2 of those forwards I'm looking to move on. 2 primos in the 15, and I'm quite heavy on the 16, but that does include a Steele and Bruin. So that's my next 2 weeks in terms of pre-buy strategies, just making sure I've got that spread, and then eyeing off some players who are coming off their buy that I think is going to complement and add from round 13 onwards.
I guess traditional buy round strategy would cover ideas like you want to have as close as you can to 18 premiums each week, or sort of like 20, 21 players playing each week at least. You want to have that balanced spread of premiums across the 5 rounds. Ideally, we want to have we want to add an underpriced premium or a premium off their buy each week to try and maximize score as well. And to quote Selby, to make our team better at the end of the buy period than when we came into the buy period. So I suppose, do you have, Holmesy, any extra philosophies that you've kind of developed over the years, or do you find just those kind of main traditional ones are the ones that tend to ring true year in, year out?
Yeah, the traditional ones, definitely hold true. The one thing I will say is sometimes 18 or 19 playing can actually be better than 21 or 22, but if those extra 3 players are just rookies that aren't going to make your best 18 anyway. So last year especially, I wasn't necessarily worried if I didn't have 22 playing, but if I had 17, 18 primos, then that was going to be better. So I'm not necessarily keen on sidewaysing rookies just to get an extra number on field if those rookies aren't going to put up a score. So I'm more than happy to try and find those underpriced guys and pick off those underpriced best 22 players along the way. I don't think we're going to have a situation this year like last where we're able to trade out of a Max Gawn who was priced at 120 down to a Rowan Marshall or whoever it was priced at 100. I don't see that at the moment. But that is some creative ways you can do with some of your topped out primos if you don't think they're going to maintain what they're doing for the rest of the year.
Can I ask? I want to ask both you fellas something. So we've been through mid-season buys before, and I felt last year I was a bit too traditional in making sure that Yep, you want to bring players in off the bye. You don't want to bring in players who are going to have their bye. But there were two examples last year. One was a Caldwell, where there was an opportunity, I thought, for myself to bring him in early, and just with an older philosophy, it may have been around 15 bye. I didn't bring him in, but in reflection, I probably would have been better off if I did bring him in, even though he had a later bye. And I'm just wondering, now that we have 5 bye rounds, we have pretty well close to completed size or there and thereabouts with the bye period. Do you think we can have some flexibility in that older philosophy and perhaps challenge what's been done previously? Because I think one of my plans this year, if there's a guy with a 15 or 16 bye that I really think is going to have a pop 3 rounds, I think it might be worth the shout, because I think with my best 18, I can cover with really good rookies, knowing that I might miss them and miss that score later on in the bye period.
You can definitely do it. Caldwell was the example I was going to give. I know DT Lemon did it last year, and Caldwell would have been priced at around that 90 mark, and you get him through to his bye round. He's now priced at 102, 103, and then everyone jumps on him, and then he got injured. So that's just dry Caldwell. But yeah, because they're spread over 5 rounds, if you're going to get 5 games out of them, that's pretty much a full price cycle, right? So I don't see an issue with it, especially now because it's over 5 weeks. We didn't used to do it because it was over 3 weeks. It was so condensed. There was far more players on the buys, whereas now you can spread it out a bit more, and it's far more manageable.
I think we were talking about some players before we started recording, K-Man, about some of those premiums that people should maybe start thinking about, like penciling into their diaries. And like one of the names that came up who could be an example of this, I don't know what he's actually priced at off the top of my head, but like Max Holmes, he's got like an elite 3 runs, 3 games like leading up to that. Yeah. So, sorry, it was Max Holmes. So we're talking about Max Holmes. He has Carlton, and then Adelaide, and then the Suns, and then Freo before his round 16 bye. So you could probably log him in and take advantage of those matchups, seeing as he's come down in price a little bit.
Is that something that we've learned from early season buys as well? It may have been my I think that was the toilet talking point I had, where I don't know. I felt we've overthought early season buys, and I don't want to get to the space where I really want to be simple with this buy period, and just take that learning that because there's 5, we just don't have to be as rigid as what we've done previously in terms of that strategy.
Yeah, especially with the crop of rookies as well. Like if, Farrow bounced back today, he was going to be someone I'd look to trade out, but with that 80 now, he can stay for a while. Roby, you've still got Milan, Jagger. We've still got real quality rooks on there. And if they can pop an 80 on any given week, you're not losing that much by having a primo on the buy, if anything. So, yeah, I'm big on that. And, thank God we don't have to deal with the early round buys next year from what we're hearing.
It's interesting that you mentioned Farrow, because I think one of the next things we want to talk about was, what do we do with our rookies? Obviously we're moving into that buy around period where we get 3 trades a week. Leading up to this, obviously it's been in an ideal world, 1 up, 1 down kind of strategy. Is it 2 down, 1 up? Or do we start looking at failed premiums or fat and mid prices like Walsh or Bruin or Steele or Bolton or Millerer, all these kinds of guys? Like, do you have a preference between those 2 strategies given the extra buy rounds and the extra number of trades that we've got?
I mean, the 2 down, 1 up is definitely a play. I mean, how else are you going to get to a Nick Dacos or one of those players that are just so expensive? If you want to get, let's say, McAndrew up to one of the big dog rucks, you're going to need the 2 trades to get it done. But you also, that's not the only way we have to really get ahead in this game. So I traded into Colby McKercher during the buys last year, priced at 60. Now that would suggest that it's not the time to do that, but he ended up being pretty much a top 6 defender or close to for the run home. So you just got to be really careful with how you go about it. But yeah, the 2 down, 1 up's definitely helpful to be able to get up to the top end guys that we haven't really had access to unless you're sideways to primo earlier in the year.
Yeah, okay. Rob, do you have any feelings about those?
I think it's going to be tricky this year. The 2 down, 1 up obviously ideal. I guess when we're talking about this bye period, we're probably bringing in or have access to rookies that aren't as strong as the start of the year. They're not going to be as strong as our mid-season draft as well. So I think it's also keeping an eye on the quality of rookies and not just bringing in a rookie where last year I think a couple lasted 1 week, 2 week, 3 weeks. So I think this year could be a little tricky with the crop of rooks that we're going to downgrade to, especially if we're looking for those upgrade targets, whether they're an underpriced premium or a premium itself. So I think there's a balance between bringing in these rookies, but also retaining rookies that have led you into the buy that you can use, whether it's through DPP. We talked about Murdoch. It's unfortunate that he popped his score that he did today, but keeping some of those rookies as well to manage and make sure that you're not sideways premium trading as well. So I'm really interested this year with the rookies, and I think the savvy coaches are going to get that balance right between retaining rookies through the buy period and the rookies that they bring in, because I just think this year we're going to be a bit starved. I know we say that every year, and maybe something we'll look at as we get into round 12.
Hopefully we get some in the mid-season draft, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like last year, Tom McCarthy was that guy who kind of came through during that mid-season draft, and I guess it's that like little awkward moment or that little awkward period of time right before the mid-season draft where we've got like those slightly less quality rookies coming through before we kind of get access to those bigger bodies and more mature guys in that draft. Is there like a specific type of player in your mind that we're looking to trade in or out of? Like obviously during the buys, points on field matter a lot. Perhaps even depending on who you ask, more than structure at this phase of the season. Do we still look for value? How do we feel about sidewaysing some premiums and not others? Do you have feelings about the types of players that we're really looking to target?
Well, for me, it's still trying to find those underpriced premiums and players that can put up close to best 22 numbers. I'm not going to sit here and say I didn't sideways trade any premiums last year, because I definitely did, albeit I was in a much stronger position. So coaches that are contending, you absolutely can, but you've just got to make sure that you're mindful of what your structure looks like coming out of the buys, and that you're not going to be stuck with someone on field that you don't want to field, or you're not, because it's the buy rounds and things get tricky, you don't end up with 8 defenders or 9 mids, and you can't have one of those primos on field because of how the structure's lined up. So I like to always put my team back into what it looks like at the end of a buy round, so I can see where the structure's at, and then I move it around to get the numbers on field and play around that way, because I have been stuck in the past of having a premium stuck on the bench because I just wasn't wary of how my structure was looking.
Yeah, absolutely. How about you, K-Man? Do you have much? I mean, last year you finished really, really strongly, and a couple of years before that, obviously, you finished really strongly as well. What's tended to be your kind of approach with these sorts of players?
Very similar to what you said earlier. Do you know what? Holmsey talked about it earlier. Moreira's Magic Buy Planner was a game changer for me a couple of years ago. Having a look, probably next week, I'm going to really sit down and nut out those players that are coming off buy, do some research on the ones, especially like, as you said, the Holmeses, Anderson, those players who have dropped in price, the Dawsons, and how they fit within structure, the players I want to move on. But the biggest thing for me was really having a plan in place to be able to maneuver around and then have the flexibility if you do happen to pick up some bullets. So for anyone out there who's going through buy planning, if you're doing an off the cuff, you tend to do a lot more of that sideways premium trading. So definitely having some form of plan that you can visualize and pull players out and bring them in. So using that Moreira's Magic Planner was a game changer for me last year.
Holmesy, do you have a short list of players at the moment currently that you're looking at that you've kind of got lined up or penciled in for any particular buy rounds as upgrade targets?
For me, the midfield just keeps changing, and we do tend to keep getting a lot of options roll through there, whether it be injuries or whatnot. So I'm not really looking at that at the moment. For me, it's that forward line. I just keep rolling with these dud forwards. So it's like, I don't have Petrarca. He's someone I'm going to want at some stage. I don't have Cozzy Pickett. He is getting the tags at the moment, so that may change at some point, but I think he's going to be someone I need to have. So whenever there's players in particular lines that are just absolute must-haves because they're just so much better than everyone else, that's where I typically look and trying to plan ahead to get them at the right time. So, I mean, a Max Holmes is a good example because he's probably going to get defender status, and then that changes the game, especially with Naz being out at the moment and what that looks like for him coming back. Holmes slots into that top 6 defender quite easily. So he's someone that I'd look to target as well. I picked off a Sinclair this week. I probably overpaid for him, but he was just someone that I just thought I needed to lock away because, you know, there's some very clear top of the line defenders that I just don't have at the moment.
So that kind of becomes priority number one for people in these buy rounds then, hey? It's like, and I guess it's priority one for us all year, is combining that value, but also with, who are these guys that we need to lock away because they're going to be top 6 at their position, and when's the right time to get them? Do you have a golden rule? Do you have like a Holmesey's golden rule? If you wanted fantasy coaches to take like one main thing away from this chat, what do you feel like that top piece of advice would be for them?
Yeah, I tried to think about this and nothing was really coming to mind because we've spoken to death about the value and all that kind of stuff. So anyone that's listened to this podcast or mine or any of them really, preaching value's just been done to death. Okay, man, I don't know about you, but I've been trying to think about this concept, and it's actually looking at the players and not what they're priced at, and then trying to project what they are moving forward, if that makes sense. So there would have been a time 3 weeks ago where you would have looked at a forward line of Cozzy Pickett, Petrarca, Jason Horne-Francis, even a Touk Miller that were all priced really highly, and you would have looked at that and gone, man, my team's on fire. But in actual fact, it's not. And it's kind of similar for your Jack Steels, your Sam Walshes. So it's trying to take that price out of it and really look at the players for what they are. And it was kind of similar last year where you had, I think it was a Josh Dunkley, Zach Merritt, and Zach Butters had all had periods where they were on fire for 5 or 6 weeks. They were all priced at 1.1 mil. And then they might have had 3 or 4 lower games or tag games in a row, and they all find themselves down at low 900s, and no one wanted to go there because they were low 900s. But 5 weeks before they were 1.1 mil, and fast forward 5 weeks after that, they were back to 1.1 mil. So I can't really put a name to it at the moment, but just trying to really think about the players and what they can do rather than that price, because we can get stuck on price a lot.
Yeah, I think it's also game style. I mean, we talked about before this pod. We had a big conversation about a month ago about the Max Score and Jack Steele combination. And Melbourne's playing great footy at the moment. That is just transitioned in the last 4 weeks where Jack Steele's structure in that midfield setup has changed. So no longer is he looking for defensive setup and his tackle numbers are down. And teams are forever looking for this fast handball chain style from transitioning through half back. And that just means we're going to have these fluctuations in scores. For the life of me, I can't answer the James Horne-Francis one. That guy is a myth, in a legend, I can't work that guy out.
He's not fit. Didn't have a preseason. They weren't even sure he was going to get to the line, but he's playing because he has to. So he's going to have those games where he's up and down because he's just not fit.
And then you're seeing coaches who, after a 4-week block, decide to change something about setup or game style, whether it's a Nixie has decided that Rochelli's the piece that's coming out and Rankin's coming in, obviously managing his minutes. But I just think the nature of the way that teams want to play and how teams are looking to nullify that defensively, we're seeing a lot more fluctuation in that consistency and score build each week. And I'm now factoring that in with my selections, that I think the days of an old Jack Steele scoring 120s and 30s might be behind what's currently happening with the way teams are playing. And I'm just accepting that with some of these trades. But also that the taggers are back. Not only are the taggers back, but I think the range of taggers and attention is back, where you said it tonight, Whitfield's getting managed, Callahan's getting managed, and I think key personnel now are starting to get multiple attention with the way they match up with certain teams as well.
Yeah, the tags. It's It's crazy because a Nick Dacos for the better part of most of this season has run around without really getting any of these hard tags. And maybe it's just because teams know that you can't run someone with Dacos. The teams that always tag have tried. But even Cozzy at the start of the year was just running, and we thought, when are they going to come? When are they going to come? And then someone like an Eagles who doesn't tag all of a sudden are now tagging. So that's the big one for me, is when a team that doesn't do it is now starting to do it. You know that this player is probably going to get a fair few on the run home.
And I don't know if you noticed on the weekend, but odd players are getting tagged. Miller got attention from Constanti on the weekend. James Jordan shifted from Nakos to Jordan De Goey, of all people. So coaches are being really strategic about which players they need to nullify, and then being flexible with that in-game scenarios as well.
Yeah, look, the tag thing's interesting. A player like Nick Dacos, and they do tag him a fair bit, but you notice when he does get tagged, he just goes around and gets cheap ball in the back 50, and I don't think coaches really hate that too much. And that's probably why they went to a De Goey who was doing so much damage forward of centre. They thought we'd rather take him out there, and if Dacos is going to go get ball in the back 50, then good luck to him. He's not dangerous back there. So it is about where these players get their possessions on field as well, and that's why Cozzy's such a hard one, because he's so damaging forward of centre.
So, Holmesy, with say 4 trades now, effectively between now and the buys, what do you think teams should be considering in preparation for that? Is it now I'm very round 12 heavy, and I've got a couple of opportunities where I might have to pivot from a traditional get rookies off the field and manage that? Do you think it's a balance, or do we stick to process and go, let's see what we can in terms of getting maxed out rookies and perhaps upgrading, and then leave those issues to the buy?
Yeah, I think if you're bringing in a premium, you're not bringing in a round 12 premium, and you're probably not even bringing in a round 13 premium, even though the round 13 buy is going to be the easy one with only the 2 teams and us not really having a Richmond player outside of those good coaches that have Jack Ross. I'm actually quite jealous because of my forward spuds, but I think you want to be targeting players that have a later buy. And then if you're umming and ahhing between 2 different premiums, have a look at how heavy you are in those later buy rounds. And if you're already heavier in one round compared to the other, then you probably need to let that player go, unless you're planning on trading out one of those other premiums when you actually get to the buy. That's where it can kind of be a bit different as well. But yeah, you just got to be careful about the premiums you bring in. But your point that you made before about the rookies is a great one. I'm not sure I'd be looking to downgrade a Jai Sarong, for example, or even a Farrow now that he's put up this score. Yes, he's got these 50s in him, but if he's got the ability to put up an 80, then that's someone I'd want to hang around if his price isn't going to fluctuate too much. So yeah, I hope that helped a little bit.
Actually, I've got an example for you, if you don't mind me throwing this at you. We just talked about the Sarongs, the Farrows, and see what you think, Jesse, as well. We got the Murdochs, we got Smiths, and then we've got someone like Jack Steele, who hasn't scored a ton in, what did you say, Jesse, round 5?
Yeah, since round 5.
Round 5. Is this a little window where you can now perhaps shift on a Jack Steele if it helps your buy planning rather than focusing on these rookies?
Yeah, you just got to make sure that there's not other moves in your side that are more important to make, because he's already lost a lot of his cash now, right? So if you had done it 3 weeks ago when he was priced above $1 million, it would have been ballsy at the time because he'd only had a few poor games and he could have bounced back. But that was the time to do it. Now that he's dropped so much, he's going to flatten out in cash relatively soon. And if he's flattening out in cash but still putting up these 85, 90 scores, then that's not the worst thing if we've got some of these other players that are putting up these 50s and 60s. But yeah, he has to go at some point throughout the buys. There's enough evidence now to say that he's not going to be this close to top 8 mid that he was to start the year. Melbourne are playing pretty well. And yeah, he's just a victim of not being the main guy in that midfield.
Oh, boys, this is awesome. I'm the novice at AFL Fantasy. I'm just sitting here flicking between your 2 webcams. This is, stop bringing that. I know I'm doing well. I'm having a good time.
Are you nervous, Jesse?
I am so nervous, dude. You should see my DMs with K-Man. Not every week, every
day. My wife has questions.
Yeah. I think K-Man was driving up the coast and he just kept hearing bing, bing, bing. He was trying to listen to music in the car with his wife. Bing, bing.
Holmsey, I was on the way to a funeral. Trying to drive.
We've been there, Jesse. We've been there. And I like to say it gets easier when you've been up there multiple times, but it really doesn't. You guys are obviously both married, but the worst thing I did was be successful at this game because the amount of time I put into it. And then if I'm not going well, my wife's like, well, what's the point? I'm like, well, yeah, kind of fair, I guess. But,
yeah. Well, it was like we were talking with Vams the other week, and he was like, "It's the only game where, or it feels like the only game where it's just no matter what happens, you're not happy. If you're not doing well, you're not happy because you're not doing well. If you're doing well, you're not happy because you're so stressed about what happens if you just stop doing well. And it's just there's no winning. There's really no winning unless you win a car, in which case I'm sure it feels fantastic, or a hat. That'd be good too." Holmesy, we wanted to finish the episode with a fun little segment called 60 Seconds with Holmesy. Rob, I'll let you introduce it, mate, because it was your segment, bro.
Yeah, look, Holmesy, we've had a number of special guests on the Contest Fantasy Show probably over the last 18 months. I think it's time that we get to know the real people, the people behind the mics. So we'll go a quick fire set of questions, really quick answers, no time limit, no time to overthink. As we tend to do.
I haven't really thought about him, to be fair. So hopefully something comes out.
So we're just going to one by one hit you and just give us your best response. And I'm really excited about this. I think this will be really fun. So I'll kick it off. Question 1. In fantasy, would you rather finish 90,000th or 101st?
Easily 101st, because there's no way Selby's going to want to work with someone that's finished 90,000. So.
That's totally fair. Biggest regret trade so far?
I got 2. Kane Farrell last year in round 3. Clearly, if I had have gone a different way, might have been sitting. Well, there's a butterfly effect, but yeah, definitely Kane Farrell. But a bit of a niche one. 2021, when I was competing, it was just after the buys, and I had the 2 options of trading in either a Jack Bowes or who's the guy at Port now who came, Jack Lukosius. They were both playing in defence, and I went with Jack Bowes, and he had the filthiest role in fantasy, but he actually couldn't touch the ball, and that kind of cooked me in the back half of 2021 as well. So yeah, bit niche.
You do need to be able to touch the ball. Unfortunately, yeah.
Yeah.
Your go-to takeaway order?
Guzmani Gomez burrito with the chips and the chipotle mayo. It's always a winner.
GYG.
Oh, yeah, that's the one. Biggest score you've ever posted?
So this one I can't remember, but I will give it in a weekly ranking perspective. So 2021, when I came second, final round of the year, actually had a weekly ranking of 4.
Oi.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
I think it was because we didn't score as much back then, but I think it was a 24-50 or something, which was just stupid. So
yeah, that's beautiful.
Okay. Question 5. Are you an overthinker with your trades to the last minute, or do you lock your trades in early and back yourself?
Traditionally, I was an overthinker. And as you guys will know, being in education, now that I'm in a bit of a leadership role, there's no thinking. So got no time.
Oh yeah. I think we could both relate to that pretty heavily. Yeah. Favorite ever TV series?
Yeah, I had to think about this one. Can I say Game of Thrones up until season 6?
Yeah. That's cracking.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. That's a fair cop.
So, comedy or action movies?
Comedy. Easy.
Yep. Pub or watching at home?
Depends the situation. If I actually want to watch the game, watching at home. But yeah, I like watching the Freo games at the pub at the moment with a couple of mates. They've been good.
Most annoying habit?
My wife will say the amount of time that I spend on AFL fantasy.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah, same. And number 10, a player that you wish was fantasy relevant.
This one, I'm going to say Sean Darcy, just because I'm a Freo man and I've been wanting him for years just to reach his potential. And if he was actually going to be able to reach his potential, I think, you know, Luke Jackson's an amazing player and he's been killing it for us this year, but a fit Sean Darcy actually opens up a lot for Freo. So it's a shame that he hasn't been able to get his body right.
You've been a Sean Darcy man as well, K-Man, hey?
Yeah, a bit of a closet fan. Absolutely. Yeah. LDU, Darcy.
You're pretty vocal about it for a couple of years there. I don't know if it was closeted.
Yeah, no, that's true. Hey, I just realized I read the wrong list. Sorry, mate.
Yeah, I realized that halfway through. We sent you a completely different list and then put you on the spot with this one.
Yeah, sorry, mate.
Yeah, there was one here about the breakouts I haven't predicted.
Yes.
And I do just want to say this. The rucks. I never get these correct. So Briggsy broke out and I refused to pick him until midway through the year when I went, I have to have him now. He keeps doing this and he got injured on a 7. I never had Tristan Cherry in his breakout year until I think the last round of the year. And then this year wasn't sold on the McAndrew and then went the dual rucks to have him at R3. And that didn't really pay off because I went Darcy Cameron. So I've always struggled with the rucks a little bit, which is unfortunate.
The ruck line is such an enigma to me. Like I feel like every year, content creators, everyone talks about the ruck line heaps, and then something weird happens in the ruck line every year, whether it's Tristan Cherry or it's Kieran Briggs, whatever it is, and it's frustrating. It's so frustrating. Anyway.
You've nailed it. You got the best 2 rucks in the comp from round 1.
No, I traded into Luke Jackson. Can't a guy just have a whinge from a
just
privileged
dominate.
position?
Yeah. No.
No. Okay. All right.
Who did you? No Errol, no Tim English, no Connor Rosie.
Yeah. No, I had Connor Rosie. Yeah,
you didn't want Connor Rosie. There was a
want
couple
him,
of others that I
him.
remember that you didn't have.
Yeah, I didn't have Zorks. I did have
Nas.
Connor Buderick. No Nas. Yeah, I didn't trade into Nas. Who else got injured? I think that's it. Yeah.
Petrarca? Did you have Petrarca?
But I did. No. Yeah, I did have Petrarca. I did start Petrarca. So I've copped my fair share.
No, you haven't. You've done well.
Errol was the one. I can track everything back. The big snowball, everything that's gone wrong in my side since could have been avoided if I just had my 115 averaging mid there from the start. But that's all right.
Well, and it's interesting you say that because had Errol not gotten injured, I'm certain he would have sunk my season by not starting him. So it's all swings and roundabouts and a little bit of luck as well. Anyway, I think that's it. We've gotten to the end. It's just become a roast of Jesse, but I'm here for it. Holmsey, mate, thank you so much for coming along. This was a lot of fun. Do people know where they can follow you, but can you tell them anyway?
Yeah, just over at the PODPOD, still kicking around there. And we plugged it a bit, but me and Selby obviously do our podcast on Moreira's Magic on Thursday night where we discuss the teams and talk the hot points, and I give away my trades, which haven't been great this year. But I can tell coaches what to do without following through on them. So that's a good thing.
You can follow K-Man on Twitter at Kman_TC Fantasy. And you can follow me on Twitter at Contest Fantasy. Remember, we got the Bonus Show dropping this week, mini episode on trade targets. You can join us for trade therapy on Friday morning ahead around 11 as well. But until then, we'll see you later. And we've forgotten the outro music again. So I think we could just keep chatting and filibustering for another 20 seconds.
Holmesy, really appreciate that. I reckon we could have talked by planning for another hour. So that was great.
Totally.
Well, good, boys. Thanks for having me.
It's been a good time. I got nothing. This is fun.
Well, has Murdoch picked up anything?
Oh, that's a good point. See you later.